Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to Stranger Things Season 5 Theories from the Upside Down. My name is Chris. I run the Film Stock YouTube channel, TikTok, Instagram, and I'm not doing this alone. We got a bunch of theories we're going to wheel through. I'm joined by two awesome people. One to my right, your left, I guess, would be who?
Hi, I'm Cameron. You probably recognize me from Chris's YouTube. I'm his girlfriend. I also love Stranger Things.
We have a podcast together. You might know that as well. And then to my left, who is this?
My name is Sean Chandler. I am not Chris's girlfriend.
No.
I have my own YouTube channel called Sean Chandler Talks About, where I talk about movies and TV, and have been making Stranger Things videos since it first dropped, because it dropped right around when I started my channel.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a legend right here. If you all go know Sean, he's awesome. But so today we're going through Stranger Things Season 5 theories. As you can see over here, we've got a wheel. Now, there's 10 categories on this wheel. 3 of them are actually for the audience, so we will pick someone from the audience to be able to give their theory to share with us, to be in the video, because this will all be recorded and go on the channel later. But I say we just start this thing. What do you guys think? You ready? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this thing. So Cam's going to spin the wheel. If you want to put your mic so we can get that ASMR effect, that is just the coolest sound ever. And then we'll see what it lands on. Here we go. The first one ever of this panel. Max works for Vecna. Cam actually thought of this.
Yeah.
She can take the lead. Here we go.
This is my small theory that I thought of right after Season 4 ended. Max is my favorite character in Stranger Things, and I was heartbroken, crying my eyes out when they did what they did to her. And in my multiple rewatches of Season 4, there's a scene where Dr. Brenner, or Papa, if you will, is explaining Vecna and like when he does his thing, and he says when Vecna kills you, he doesn't just kill you, he consumes you. And I was like, that's a really specific way to explain that. So Max is in the hospital, as we know. Her limbs are all broken and she's blind. And so I refuse to believe that my favorite character won't be heavily involved in Season 5. I absolutely refuse to believe it. So my first thought was, what if, because limbs can heal, but when you go blind, that's a little bit more difficult to fix.
A little more severe, yeah.
But so if Vecna consumes you when he does his thing, Vecna didn't consume all of Max because she's alive. He only consumed like a fourth of her. And if what he consumed is her eyesight, maybe some way, shape, or form, she may not be able to see, but she can see like what Vecna sees. That's like one of the first things I thought of. I thought that'd be kind of cool just to have her be able to do something.
No, yeah, it would be like actually depressing in a way too, because like we all love Max, like you said. I know she's your fave, and seeing her just be possessed, like just the body and Vecna's, and like I just wouldn't care about that. What do you think,
So
Sean?
you think, playing this out,
yeah,
the mid-season showdown, Max possessed by Vecna battles 11. As are like, oh, I don't want anyone to die.
That gave me
what's
chills.
going on here? And so you're like, oh, wow. And so then you create the scenario where you have a boss fight in the middle of the season if they do the split again.
Vol 1, Vol 2,
and
yeah.
then you come back and classic heroes battle each other. Then they can team up as our heroes. I know you have your thoughts on team up, but they are our people, if it's part of them, team up to battle super powerful Vecna.
No, yeah, if they go that route, it would remind me of in Season 3 when they have to do the sauna test for Billy.
Yeah.
I would not be opposed to that at all.
Yeah.
But no, Max, she's coming back. Sadie Sink was in that picture of everyone for Season 5, so we know she's going to be in it. It's just to what extent.
I'm curious how they're going to explain curing her blindness.
I honestly don't know. She could just not wake up, and they could be lying to us.
Don't
The Duffer
say
Brothers
that.
are sick and twisted sometimes.
Don't
God,
say
I mean,
that.
we love them for making the show, but they love to play with our emotions. But anyway, let's spin this wheel and see what the next one is. Here we go.
Oh boy.
This is the big bad one everyone's been theorizing on. Time travel in the final season of Stranger Things. A hot topic, as we know. Now, they've been dropping seeds at this potentially happening for as long as I can remember, even with simple Back to the Future nods in Season 3. But yes, awesome. 1.21 gigawatts. But no. Time travel in this final season, is it going to happen? In my mind, it's a dangerous game to play because we've obviously seen people do this successfully. You look at Avengers Endgame, a big franchise. They did time travel, and they had, the fan service callback moments. But it worked within the second act of that movie. I look at Stranger Things, I go, has it ever been a show where the scale goes that big and they travel back in time, whether that's through the Upside Down, whether that's, they create some device and there's some big time jump and they go back? Like, I just don't know if it could fit within the confines of the show without being too ridiculous. But what do you think, Cam?
I think that they would have to do time travel extremely correctly, if that makes sense, because doing time travel at all, not only can it get confusing, because like you brought up Endgame, and I love Endgame, but like when you think too hard about the time travel in Endgame, you're gonna start to hurt your brain. Like Steve coming back, how is he in that time?
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole mess, and it just kind of hurts your head the longer you think about time travel. So I think it's really tricky territory. I think they'd be better off not doing any time travel. The only like air quote time travel I'd be okay with is just the fact that the Upside Down is in 1984.
Or yeah, so it's paused. It's November 6, 1983. It's frozen
That's
in
what
time,
I
right?
meant,
The
sorry.
Upside Down, and so that's something they could play with within the confines of the Upside Down. But like in real world, right? Like if it's 1986, 1987, wherever they end up, if they like create some machine or some device that takes them back to 1983 in the real world, that's where I'm kind of like checking out a little bit. I trust the Duffers to pull that off. But Sean, what do you think? I know there have been some complaints about the scale of Stranger Things like in further seasons, so I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, if they create a device and then go back in time, I think that gets wacky. But if you use
Unless it's
the
a DeLorean.
established lore where there's upside downs and there report like all the stuff that's already in there, I think there's some version where you can mess around with time, whether that's bringing some characters back, which maybe we'll talk about in another segment on here. But yeah, I mean, I don't want a device, and I think if you start to that idea of getting too big, where we're already gone global, mass boss fights, cities collapsing, and now we're traveling back in time, it gets a little wacky and wild.
Yeah.
So I think there's a way to play with time that very much fits into the nostalgia of the show. When you think iconic 80s movies, there's a reason the Back to the Future cast were here. There's a reason I took a picture with the Back to the Future cast
Legends.
opening night here. And so finding a way to tie that in and having that sort of more overt Back to the Future references in the plot sounds right. It's consistent with the show, but how do you do it in a way that it's not too wacky? And, you can't go back to season 1 and de-age these kids. Like, I don't know if you could de-age a prepubescent with the kids. I don't think it would
Well,
work
they did
with some
that
of the
with
Back to the
11.
Future.
They did. They
with
pulled that off.
11
Yeah.
last season.
Yeah.
They like hired a younger actor, actress, and then they like CGI'd bits of Millie Bobby Brown's face onto the actor.
All right, maybe you're convincing me. All right, season 5, it's Back to the Future, part 2, third act, the whole.
I'm honestly, bring it on if they do
Here's
it
my
right.
thing. When it comes to, if they do time travel, they're going to need to convince me of the characters inventing time travel, because like
So you want the invention of
well,
time travel?
No, yeah, they would
The kids to invent it?
if they
Who would?
if
Mr.
they-
Clark? Anybody?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I love all the adults in Stranger Things, obviously. None of them are smart enough to invent a time travel device, except for Mr. Clark. And when it comes to the kids, they can't even drive a car yet. So how am I supposed to, like, really believe that they're as smart as Dustin is? And I love Dustin. Like, that's my child. He can't...
Yes.
I just don't see him making a whole time machine.
No.
He could, like, he could think of a way to go back in time via the Upside Down or something like that, but if they're making like a Stranger Things equivalent of the flux capacitor, he can't drive a car yet. You got to convince me a little bit more. That's why I'm iffy on the time travel.
No, yeah, I concur. I think they're going to have to. It's going to be like
Don't want to
slipping
jump
through
too
time
far
in the
ahead.
Upside Down.
There's a time jump. They're 80 years old in old makeup.
Yeah.
They've invented a time machine. They go.
We
That's
get Christopher
fine.
Lloyd to
These
play
are
one
great
of them.
ideas.
Yeah. No, that's going to be one of the hottest topics, though. And then recently, I haven't made a video about this, but the Duffer Brothers posted on Instagram.
Yeah, they
Ross
posted-
Duffer, follow. If you haven't followed him, he gives us all the inside info. He posted a photo dump, and one of those pictures was a picture of A Wrinkle in Time, the book.
Which is
and
time
so he's been
travel.
teasing things all along, even in these set pics. There's these little things. Obviously, Vecna, the idea of this clock and time. It's been a concept that's been very relevant in Stranger Things. So we'll see what happens in season 5. But let's give this thing a spin.
Is it just real quick? Like even going into to 4, there was a lot of that speculation about time travel because all the clocks and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it seems like you mentioned A Wrinkle in Time. I go, oh man, it seems like.
That might just be the direction we're headed, but we'll have to see. Here we go. Spin it. Will has powers. I mean, is it all but confirmed is the question, because we know he has a connection to the Upside Down. We know that he can sort of sense the presence of Vecna every time he touches his neck. Like
He has the power
like he has
of
the Peter
goosebumps.
tingle. Yeah. He does. So, Sean, I'm going to kick this to you first. I want to hear what
All
you
right,
have to say.
same pitch as Max.
Here we go.
Into the first half of the season, 11 versus Will. Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the key elements since the end of season 1. When he comes back, there's a connection there. So you have to ultimately pay that off. You have to have some way that we tie that in to bookend, to close out this arc that started with him being taken into this place and that connection that was formed. What is the ultimate culmination of that? We're in a show where people have powers, where Vecna's tied into all of this. So of course he needs to come back in some sense.
Yes, I just don't want it to be too ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
I don't. My biggest fear is like there's some superhero team up, Max, 8, who we'll talk about later, 11, Will, all these people like teaming up to fight Vecna. I think there's like, because to me, the thing we love about Stranger Things is the characters and that underdog role, and seeing them devise the unlikeliest plot to take down the villain in each season, and just being able to root for that. And I don't want it to become sort of an MCU final showdown thing. But
And I know in a lot of shows that I've enjoyed, at the beginning it's special because one person has powers, one person is a hero. Stranger Things, that's 11, that way makes her stand out. And if you get to the end of the show and it's like, well, everybody's got powers, it cheapens what made her so great. And so trying to find the right way where there's a little something that ties in. It's established and it's earned.
Yes.
It's the cheap stuff where it's like, oh, let's grab this random person. They've got powers too. Like, that doesn't feel earned. But if there's a cost to get us here, we felt this pain of seeing Max in the hospital, and there's a payoff to it. There's a flip side to it. Or Will, this journey that he's been on for 5 seasons by the end of this, and there's a payoff. I think it's earned.
Yeah, and even if Will gets his powers, right, and he uses them, what if he pays the ultimate price and sacrifices himself for the group? That would be rewarding in a way. It would be sad to see him go, but it would be rewarding.
Yeah, you're saying your hope is that Will dies? Wow, harsh.
I'm not opposed. I mean, yeah, we'll see. But Cam, what do you think?
I don't know if Will Byers could handle having powers.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean...
Here's the thing. When it comes to the concept of Will having powers, all I can think of is back to the conversation between him and Mike in season 4, where he's like convincing Mike that he's the heart.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot because, I don't know, Mike Wheeler's not my favorite of the children, and neither is Will, honestly.
Dustin supremacy.
Yeah, Dustin and Lucas are far superior in my mind, but whatever.
Correct.
So when Will told Mike that he was the heart, I was like, okay, I don't know about all that. But I wonder if that's going to like come back. Maybe Mike's going to have to be like, I'm not the heart, Will, you're the heart, or something like that. That sounds like some sort of Stranger Things writing, you know what I mean?
The score swells.
Or maybe Will's actually not going to be the main character of season 5, and maybe it's actually Mike they're going to focus on.
We know they're going back to the season 1 character dynamics. They've hit that, the nail over the head that a million times. No, I do think Will having powers is like, it's going to happen. It seems like it's going to happen. And I don't know what that looks like. Does that mean he's going to start floating and have 11's powers? I don't know, but
that's the other one. I don't want to repeat powers.
Yeah, correct.
If everyone has this, like, if Max can't see and she has something else, and 11, of course, has 11 powers, and Will has something. It's when we have to figure out how to use these pieces and piece them together to overcome this thing. They can still be the underdogs. None of them by themselves are powerful enough, but they fill in their gaps. If they can figure it out, then it's earned.
Yeah, I love that.
Going back to that word, earned.
Earned, yes.
Will gets the power of a good haircut in season 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need that for the whole cast, honestly, sometimes.
Yes.
Ooh. A hush falls over the crowd.
Well, I sure hope so.
11
My daughter
dies.
dressed up as 11 at a first Comic-Con she ever dressed up for. She went as 11, had the little nosebleed, and people kept running up to her. Oh, girl, your nose is bleeding. It was the sweetest thing imaginable. They're just trying to help my daughter. But anyway, sorry.
No, one of the greatest cosplays I've ever seen. I was in 11th grade. It was like right after season 1 came out.
11th grade, you say?
I was.
Wow.
Very on the nose. But my lit teacher, he dressed up as 11. Like, he shaved his head, rocked it. He rocked it. Yeah, it was awesome. Like, the nosebleed and everything. So shout out him. It was like right before the show got popular. So I wonder how he's doing anyway. But 11 dying. Look, I know you guys don't want to hear this, but to me, I've said this ever since, I'd say, the end of season 4. I think she dies, with her goes the Upside Down. This show, when it started, everything went crazy when she arrived, so I think the only way for it to sort of come full circle is for her to die, and the Upside Down goes away with it. Now, that would be tragic, for sure.
Yeah.
But can we see Hopper dying again? Does he? They did the fake out death at the end of season 3. Obviously, I don't think he would sacrifice himself for 11 100%. I don't know, though.
I don't know if he can. Like,
do they bring Hopper back to kill him again, or do they go the 11 route?
As soon as you create this scenario where we killed Hopper, and then we killed Hopper, like, you can't keep doing it. So I think Hopper's kind of off the table.
I agree. Yeah.
And so then who? I mean, I would lean towards what you're saying.
Yeah.
Of it's difficult to see the dramatically, thematically satisfying conclusion that doesn't have something really bad happening for 11.
Yeah.
Of she's robbed of her childhood, she regains it, lives a life through her friends, has love, has fun, has all these things, but her story's a tragedy because of the journey that was put upon her by others. And so maybe there's a way that they can find it that feels right, that isn't just giving us the happy ending just to give us the maybe they can find the little crack that they can squeeze through. But I think with the journey that they've had her on from the beginning, with the backstory that they've given her, like you said, she is so intertwined with this thing that needs to be taken away for good that, be nervous, everybody.
To me, they could go the Guardians 3 route, where Gunn didn't kill any of the main Guardians, but he made us feel the consequences of that. Like, we all were crying. We were like, Rocket's dead, and they brought him back. They could do something with that, like 11, and then she could just lose her powers and live a normal life. That's the happy ending, but I don't know if they'll do it.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, no pun intended.
Nice.
Thank you so much. I think we saw a bit of it in season 3 where 11 sort of experienced losing her powers, and she was really sad about the fact that she lost her powers. Like, she was frustrated with the fact that she didn't have them. But I think by the end of season 5, I don't think the end of the Upside Down coincides with the end of 11. I think when the Upside Down, disappears, her powers will also disappear. But at this point, I think she'll be, by the end of season 5, I think she'll be happy to not have her powers, to finally be a normal kid. And I don't think they can't take her away from Mike. Like, they just have been building Maleven that's been the main focus of,
it's one of the foundational relationships of the show.
If Mike and 11 didn't exist,
Yeah.
what would they have to do with Mike as a character? It's not, I'm not saying Mike's a bad character. I'm saying, what else do they give him? Mike's sole focus is 11. If you kill 11, Mike's going to be so depressed.
He will
be. You can't really do that to him, and you can't do that to 11. You can't do that to Hopper. You just got to take her powers away. Make it tragic that she loses her powers. That's a tragedy.
Yeah.
That's a hardship for her, but I don't think she's going to die. Because also they started out as a kid's show.
It would be extremely dark to kill essentially the main character in a way, right? The one who's headlining the poster.
There's some pretty dark stuff from the very beginning.
No, I'm not saying it's not a dark show.
There's still fan movements from the second episode of killing characters off.
Well,
11 breaking bones of children. There's some pretty heavy stuff from the beginning.
That is fair.
Dark is different than depressing, though.
So you're saying
depression.
thematically,
I watched
it's
Eddie die. I know depression.
Yeah,
I don't think they want to do that to a larger audience.
We'll see. Let's see if we land on
Then again, they kill Eddie off. That guy is beloved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who does not love Eddie Munson? I hosted a Stranger Things Part 2 screening in a theater for Stranger Things Day a couple years back. Everyone in the room was dressed like Eddie Munson, and this was just 2 months after he debuted as a character, because people love him. And they killed him off, so they left him in legendary status, epic finale, and he is marked for history. Like, how limited is his screen time? And everyone adores him.
14 minutes of screen time.
That's the most bang for your buck screen time of any movie character or TV character ever.
That character, they wrote the character, they put the show out, and then over the span of May, June, July, everyone fell in love with him. It's not like he's been around since season 1, so the Duffer Brothers probably had an idea people would love him, but then they went ahead and killed him off. I bet that's their big regret.
They grossly underestimated how much people would love and resonate with Eddie Munson. Yep. They did not expect what happened.
No, let's spin this thing and see what the next one is. Here we go.
Oh boy.
Ooh. 08 returns. So Callie, we haven't seen her in the present day since season 2, from the infamous Lost Sister episode, which is the consensus worst episode
My
of the
favorite
show.
episode, yours too.
Oh no, not at all.
I'm like
there are
one
defenders of this though. Anyone a fan of this episode? Anyone?
No.
Okay.
Don't answer that question. Anybody a fan of season 2 besides that episode, raise your hand.
Okay.
I'm
yeah,
a
there you go.
hardcore season 2 defender. Everyone's like, oh, it's the worst season. And I'm like, listen, if you watch it with, just skip episode 7.
I never watched it on the rewatch.
Episode 6 ends and episode 8 picks up right where episode 6 ended. Season 2 is a great season. I just wanted to get that in there.
So do you think
Continue.
8 comes back? I want to hear it.
No. Of course not. They know how much people hate that episode. They'd be so stupid to bring her back. So, no.
I think bringing her back would automatically sort of move into the thing I was talking about earlier with this big team up, because she's been away since season 2. It would be like, oh wait, there's more, and she just shows up. It would feel unearned, to continue using that word in my mind. And so yeah, I don't think she comes back. I know they briefly showed her in like one of those flashbacks, I think in season 4, or like the dive episode, I want to say we see a shot of her. But no, I don't think she comes back because the Duffers are aware that episode is like the consensus worst. No one really cares about it. Sean, you said you love this one. You watch it all the time.
Personal favorite episode, yeah. I mean, I'm in the category season 2's my least favorite of the seasons, and this is the episode that everyone's like, that weird one where they went off and were like trying to set up a spin-off or something like that didn't work.
No, yeah, like I told my parents, I told them what happened. I was like, just skip the episode. They watched it for the first time last year. I was like, just skip it, and I'll tell you what happens.
Right, and it's just kind of this oddball one that we kind of pretend like it didn't happen. So it would just feel kind of random if suddenly we make this character a big part of the last season. Counterbalance to this, the show Cobra Kai, the whole show has been about, like, let's take unpopular things and little things from the lore of the Karate Kid movies and make them beloved things in this new show. So sometimes there's a way to reframe something that didn't work in one context and make it the exact thing that they hoped it would be the first time.
Yeah.
So maybe if you have her show up for the last episode, like, hey, I'm here too. The cavalry showed up. Let's beat Vecna. It's like, what? Come on now.
To be fair, I think the most annoying part of episode 7 of season 2 is you're not in Hawkins at all. I think that episode wouldn't be as hated if they did a little bit of hopping back and forth
good point.
between what the gang is doing in Hawkins and where 11 is. And also, I think it's less that Callie is an annoying character. It's more that all of her friends are super irritating in that episode. Like, I don't necessarily hate Callie. I think it was a weird choice to go, but her friends were just annoying.
It's a backdoor pilot where you put an episode in the middle of a show that's designed to see if people like this, we'll make a show out of it.
And we did not.
And it was like a hard no from people, so it didn't work. But that's where there's an episode of The Office where they go to Schrute Farms. That's a backdoor pilot trying to set up. And that's what it was, and it clearly didn't work. But, I mean, if they bring her back in the first episode, things go crazy, and she make her character throughout the season, maybe it's earned.
Yes, I would be okay if they just fully commit to it and she is a consistent character throughout. That's the only route I could see. But if she just shows up when they're like about to lose everything, that would be like the cheapest thing they could do, in my opinion. But enough about that. Next one.
Moving on.
Here we go.
Audience,
Yes. Our first audience question, right here in the Stranger Things Fire shirt. Is that mic on back there? Do we know, Chuck? Awesome. If you want to go, you can go to the mic back there. You can ask or share your theory with us, and we'll give you our thoughts on it. Here we go.
Steve sacrifices himself.
Ooh, great one, man.
Okay, listen.
Hey, I'm always the babysitter, right?
Listen.
My backup
like
shirt is also a babysitter
Yes.
shirt.
I feel like you
Steve
can
rules.
divide Stranger Things fans into two categories. You've got your Eddie stans, and then you have your Steve stans, and that's it. You know what I mean? You already broke the hearts of all the Eddie stans. All we have left is Steve. You can't kill him.
Yeah, it's
you
like
cannot
that.
do it.
It's like that video of Millie Bobby Brown when the person's like Eddie or Steve, and she's like Steve Harrington. Yeah. No, I want to hear your thoughts. I'm really curious because I have no clue what you think of this. Let's hear it.
I don't want Steve to die.
I don't think anyone
And
does.
I feel also you have to figure out where you go with him next, but he had such a great arc over the course
Yes.
of the beginning of the show where he was such a jerk at the first season, and they found a way to make you actually love this guy that you're like, oh, this guy, why is he
Yes.
so mean? and they take him on a journey where everybody loves this guy.
Yeah.
And so you want to figure out what's next, but I just don't see the version of it where it's like we gotta kill Steve. Like what? He's not the guy that fits into that gap to do that. Because who does he sacrifice himself for? Like him dying for Dusty. Like that's you kind of get it, but like it doesn't. It's not the same as Hopper sacrificing himself for the daughter in his life, or Eleven, who's tied to the Upside Down and is so pivotal to this. It's not the same if it's Steve. So I don't see him.
See, I'll push back on that a little because I think they've set up Steve with 3 different people he could sacrifice himself for: Nancy, Robin, or Dustin. I think that they could go any that way. But my toxic trait, real quick, is I've liked Steve since season 1. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just Joe Keery.
Were you a bully in high school? Is that what it was?
Cam, was I a bully in high school?
I don't know if you want me to answer that on a panel.
Who knows? Maybe I've undergone the character development. So
here's the thing: I see your Steve sacrificing himself, and I raise you that Jonathan's gonna die. Because here's the thing: Steve could sacrifice himself for Nancy if you're somebody who wants Jonathan and Nancy to end up together, or Jonathan can sacrifice himself for Nancy, which leaves Nancy open for Steve to comfort. And also, besides the whole adult relationship drama of the show, I think it would be kind of insanely poetic for Jonathan to die when this whole show Joyce has been so focused on keeping Will alive. That's all she cares about is she's like, that's my son, and like that's my son. She's going into the Upside Down for Will. She is doing everything she can to keep Will alive, taking him to doctors, moving him to California. And if Jonathan ended up being the one that dies instead of Will, when she's just been worried about Will this whole time, like I have goosebumps.
That would be pretty poetic, honestly. Yeah.
And what if it
he's
happens
taking a
earlier
backseat.
in the season
Yeah.
to kind of kick in motion?
And you guys
pulling
were
people
you were
together.
talking about how like for 8 to come back, they would have to really earn it. I feel like Jonathan's not really anybody's favorite character.
Yeah.
But what if they like really actually gave him some good writing in this season, and they really made us all care about Jonathan like a lot,
Which
and
I
then
think they're going to do.
him.
I think they're going to do that because Steve and Jonathan seemingly are going to have more scenes together. The Duffers have been releasing, there was like pre-visualization gifs of scenes, and they're together. And so I think they're really going to build up their dynamic. 2 characters who are sort of romantic rivals since the beginning, and they're going to become buds in a way, and then one of them is going to die for Nancy, and it's just going to break everyone's hearts. So leave it to the Duffer Brothers to do that. But let's see what we get next on this wheel. Here we go.
Ooh, this is the one everyone's been waiting for. The fan favorite.
Eddie Munson lives. There's like 20 different routes you could go with
There's
how this
so
happens.
many.
Cam, huge Eddie fan. You take the lead here.
So I want Eddie to be in season 5 in any capacity that I can get him, whether it's in a dream or whatnot. The only way I don't want to see him is what they did with Billy in season 4, where he's like scary and like decrepit and like demonic. I don't want that because I don't want to see him like that. But if he just like comes to Dustin in a dream or something, I'm okay with that. I just want to see him again. But there's also the Eddie as Cass theory that everyone's been talking about.
Cass
Has
is
anybody heard
bloody-handed.
of that? Okay, we got one
It's a
person.
very popular one going around right
So
now.
Cass is like a D&D character. Listen, I don't play D&D. I don't know if anybody in this audience plays D&D. I've read a lot about it, but the odds of me getting something wrong are pretty high. So don't get mad at me if I get something wrong. But from what I've read, Cass the Bloody-Handed is like the right-hand man to Vecna, I believe. I think he becomes like a vampire of sorts. So like the general theory is that Eddie being in the Upside Down, getting bitten by bats, like he like turns into a vampire and like sort of becomes, I guess, like a right-hand man for Vecna in the show. Listen, we saw in season 4, 11 has the ability to bring someone back to life. She saved Max's life. Who's to say that Vecna didn't just go and do that exact same thing to Eddie in the Upside Down?
That's fair. Now, I want to ask you, because if he does come back as Cass, wouldn't he be in a villainous role in a sense for the majority of that season? Do we want to see Eddie and have that legacy tainted? That's my big concern, is if Eddie returns in that way, shape, or form, it's going to taint the legacy of Eddie that everyone ended up loving.
Well. If he comes back as, air quote, Cass, you could look at it from the stance of how I look at Bucky Barnes versus the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Same character, same actor.
You had to throw that in there, didn't you?
Two different entities. So when Eddie is a villain as Cass, that's not Eddie. It's just Joseph Quinn
Yeah.
acting a different version of Eddie. And then when they, they save Eddie and fix him by the end of the season, and everyone's happy and everything's okay, then it'll be fine.
I would almost put money on it that Joseph Quinn will appear. It's commonplace for Stranger Things to bring actors back that have died, even if it's just a vision. The best way to do this, and I just thought of this on the spot, is sort of like I don't want to spoil that game, but I won't even say it. I'm not saying anything. But to bring him back in just a vision, right? So our character is just in a dream, and it's just a scene that happened between the two of them that was off screen. And that's the best way to go, where it's like we acknowledge that the fans love Joseph Quinn as Eddie. We're bringing him back, and we're just going to do that. And boom, there he is. Instead of bringing him back and like writing him into the final season, because there might not even be room in the final season to explore Eddie. Sean, what do you think?
Or, sorry, go.
Good.
Some amount of appearance, I think, whether a dream, some flashback, some with the upside down makes an appearance, cool. If time travel plays into it, I could imagine a scenario where we go back a little bit. We can end game this thing and pull in Eddie into our Avengers showdown that you don't want. He uses the power of metal to defeat Vecna.
Yes.
I would
Generally speaking, though, I would say leave it be. He's a legend with his 14 minutes of screen time. A little taste, but anything beyond a taste, you only risk tarnishing the legacy. And you undo the stakes of something. As much as we all would love to have more, they made a choice that made him a legend.
Yeah. I would love to see a spin-off show, though, based on his book that came out relatively recently.
Flight of
I would love
Icarus.
to see that. It's a little prequel book, and I'd love to see it. The book has Chrissy in it. It's got, like, I think Tommy H. and Carol are in the book.
It has, like, even, I think Will
Uncle
and Hopper
Wayne.
make an appearance. So my thing is, like, that is technically canon. Caitlin Schneiderin, who's in the writer's room, wrote that book. So that has me thinking them releasing it, and the fact that the Duffer Brothers constantly tease Hellfire, Eddie, blah, blah. Maybe they're just playing into it because the fans love it, but there is a route where he does come back.
I just think that Eddie Munson became a character that was, like, so insanely loved by everybody, and the Duffer Brothers had no way of knowing that when they wrote season 4. I bet between the gap of volume 1 and volume 2, when they saw what Eddie Munson was doing, like, to the general public, they were like, crap.
Oops.
So
They were like,
messed up.
It's like in The Hangover, we effed up. All right, here we go. Next one.
All right. I knew it was
Already
gonna
did
happen.
that? So let's see. How many even do we have left?
3?
All right, we'll spin.
Okay, audience.
There we go. Audience. Right here.
Love the Steve cosplay, by the way. That's awesome. Yeah, the mic's back there. You can just go ask your theory.
Not exactly a theory, but I think
Wait,
I
can you pull the
recently
mic just a little
Pull it
closer?
down,
Yeah.
louder.
There you go.
I believe I recently saw something pointing out that on Eddie's missing poster at the end of season 4, it says 17 instead of, I think he was.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like 20.
Yeah. So he died in the Upside Down, and the Upside Down is in 1983.
Yeah.
3 years before.
Yeah.
So.
Oh.
I haven't heard
know.
that. Have you?
You just blew my mind a little bit. I haven't seen anybody talk about
That's pretty
that.
neat, yeah.
I've seen people talk about his missing poster having the wrong date on it or like the wrong age on it. Girl, that's crazy.
Yeah. That could be the Duffer Brothers, thinking ahead, or it could be them missing a detail because
Here's
these are the
thing,
people who forgot Will Byers'
That's us
birthday.
giving the
don't know
Duffer
if you
Brothers
do
a
that.
little bit too much credit.
I couldn't hear hear clear now.
So,
I
yeah.
have old man
Okay,
ears.
I'll tell you
I'm
what you said.
older
In case
than
nobody
them by a
heard,
lot.
I'll tell you what they said. So, at the end of season 4, when Eddie is dead in the Upside Down, his uncle is like putting up a missing poster for him, and that's when Dustin comes up to him and has a little heart-to-heart, gives him the necklace with the guitar pick on it, etc., etc. On the missing poster, it says Eddie's age is 17. We know Eddie's a third-year senior. That would put him at the age of 20.
Oh, okay.
But what it would be is when he was 17, it was 1983. Because that was 3 years ago. So the Upside Down is stuck in 1983. Therefore, he died in the year that he was 17. Now, great theory, and I love it, and I wish the Duffer Brothers were on their game like that. I don't think they are because they forgot Will Byers' birthday.
They've plotted everything since the very beginning, though.
I
remember?
don't think. I think what it is they just weren't thinking about the fact that they already made Eddie a third-year senior.
Yeah.
So when they made the missing poster, they're like, "Oh, he's a senior. Okay, he's 17." Because I don't think they pay that much attention to detail. I wish they did, but they're not built like us. But
No, yeah.
We'll see.
All right, let's spin it and see what happens, and see if we can land on one we haven't got already. And
We were doing good for a while.
yeah, here, just spin it over to that one. Honestly, at this point, we're just going to pick them because we've gotten down to the real. That's one that we got to talk about. If you guys can't see that in the audience, it says, "It was all a dream." Now, this could go in many different routes. There's one where it's like, oh, it was all a D&D campaign, and it like goes, like the harp plays, and it's like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and it's just the very beginning of the first episode, and they're just playing D&D, and they wrap it up for the night. I think that would be horrific. Borderline disastrous.
Yeah, that would be rough.
Borderline, like
I
Game
think
of
the
Thrones
Duffers-
season 8, if
I
not
think the
worse.
Duffers have literally said they're not doing
No,
that.
yeah. And this is just like super outlandish. It's fun to kind of theorize a disaster scenario, but I have so much faith in them to stick it. But Sean,
Yeah.
you were talking to us
Yes.
earlier about a really
So-
neat sort of route they
Well,
could do. Not really.
Not that they should do this, but this is a reference to the Bob Newhart show and Newhart. So there was this gentleman named Bob Newhart. He's actually in the movie Elf. He had a show in the 60s. It was a hit sitcom. And then he had another sitcom in the 80s where he ran like a lodge and had wacky adventures at this lodge. In the season finale of the second show, the last scene, it was this big secret, and he wakes up in bed, and it's the wife from the first show, and he's like, I had the craziest dream. I was running a lodge up in the mountains. There was all this crazy, wacky stuff. Like, that's the weirdest dream I've ever had. And so it's this super iconic end to this comedy show that was like the perfect way to close out this guy's sitcom legacy. I don't think you could, if you end Stranger Things with, it was all just D&D, it was all just a dream, like the fan base will revolt, it'll go down in history as like,
It would be
"It
riot.
wasn't
Yeah,
real.
a riot.
However,
Eddie was real to me.
yes, I was about to say, if they do that, Eddie would be alive.
Who knows then? But no, I think if they did that, it would be like the biggest, like the
That'd
worst
be
finale
bad.
I think ever to a show. It would be disastrous. The internet would be aflame. I would be riotous online. There's
Well,
no way
if the
they do
show's
that.
over with, if you just want to get more clicks afterwards, make everybody mad, and we'll make videos ranting about it for the next 10 years.
There you have it. Yeah, you'll never hear the end of it. All right, let's see. Yeah.
The only one we haven't done is audience. We have
Yeah.
like 8 minutes left.
Yeah. So we'll
So we
take
just do audience from here on
yeah
out.
an audience. So
I want to do the
go
Girl
for
in
it.
the 11
Yep.
cosplay. Yeah.
Let's see it.
One is the father of all the children in the lab.
Interesting.
Well, then who's the mother?
I don't know. That would be
The individual mothers?
That would be an insane sort of
Well, here's
out
the
of
thing.
left field thing. Go ahead. I'm wrapping my brain around that, honestly. How do you think? So, Jamie Campbell Bower's one is, I mean, how much older is he than...
Look at how old O2
Yeah.
is in the flashbacks
Okay, yeah.
when he is like Jamie Campbell Bower. Like
Yeah.
he is an adult, but like what is he, like 20 something?
Well,
he's
my thought is they could, like, some sort of cloning thing, like a genetic thing. But again, that might be follow the mold of the
So
time
you
travel
think
where
we're
that
gonna
gets
get
a
a
little too
11.
out there.
I am your
as a
father.
concept. Yeah, that would be crazy. Just directly rip it off. Just word for word, that would be funny. Sean, what do you think? Is this conceivable?
Conceivable?
Could you even see this happening?
I would have to look at it. My brain is not wrapping around it enough to say anything articulate besides
fair.
picking up on the word that you said, conceived, in this context.
I will
That's
say
all I
this,
got for you.
I don't think we talked about Vecna Henry Creel enough in these theories, but he's gonna be such a big part of season 5, especially with the addition of the play that's in London right now. I don't know too much about the play. From what I've heard, I have a friend who works at the
Yeah.
theater. She said it's kind of confusing. I don't know if anybody here has seen it or read about it or whatever.
You guys did.
But
Yeah.
the ages of Henry Creel confuse me, just in terms of I think the play he's supposed to be 16, but it's the same year that he was 12 in the show. It's kind of confusing. We'll talk to you about it after if you saw it, but the play confuses me, and how that's going to play into season 5 worries me a little bit.
No, yeah. I think that if the play was of utmost importance for us to watch, they would make sure that it would be on Netflix before
Yeah.
season 5.
They might.
And I think there is still hope for that. Maybe they do that Stranger Things Day this year. and they have like the Hamilton high quality recording of it, of the first Shadow play, which is like a prequel for those who don't know, with 01, Jopper. I said, well, they both technically are in it. The best relationship in Stranger Things, but no, they're all in it. It's in high school in the 50s in Hawkins. So I think if that was important, they would again drop it. How much time do we have left, out of curiosity? Time for one more?
5 minutes.
Yeah, we got time for one more. Who's got a good one? Right here. Yep.
Okay, so I kind of have a theory about how Eddie could come back.
Okay.
In a flashback where Dustin is at Eddie's grave in that leaked photo.
Yes.
We could get like a style of how Max got a vision of Billy at his grave.
Mm-hmm.
That's my theory.
Okay.
If we do get that, I just don't want it to be like scary Eddie. I want it to be happy,
You want lighthearted,
happy, sweet,
God
and cute Eddie.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to see. I don't want the last thing we see of him to be him all.
Well, I'll say this: I don't know if they want to like repeat similar plot devices from season 4.
That's totally fair.
And I think that would be a little too close along the lines of Max, being haunted by Vecna essentially, and going to Billy's grave and all that, and having that scene go down. I don't know if they would do that, but I will say
We could definitely get like Dustin is at the grave, and like we see flashbacks from the like when Eddie and Dustin first became friends, like 2-3 years ago in high school or whatever. We could get like flashbacks. That's possible.
I've seen people say that Dustin's going to be the Max of this season, and Dustin's going to be haunted by Vecna. But again, I don't know if I want them to repeat the same plot of season 4, and I don't know if that is the way Vecna's going to return. And we know he said this is the beginning of the end. You and your friends have lost. That Vecna says all that, right? So we know Vecna's coming back, but will it be in a completely different form? That's what I'm thinking, and it could be through Max. Like talked about earlier.
Penetrate Dustin's brain. It's too powerful. He's too strong.
It's coated with the dusty buns. No.
Yep. 3 minutes. One more.
Yeah, one right here. Yep. Final one.
Here we go.
Hello.
Hey.
So my theory is how Vecna wants Will dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because in season 1 we have proof that anytime the Demogorgons strike someone, they were bleeding, like Barb was bleeding in the pool. But even Hopper said that there was no sign of blood when Will got taken. And so why did Will get taken by the Demogorgon? Because Will is somehow connected to the Upside Down, and he wants him dead because he could be like a real helpful to him, but also more helpful to the group.
Yeah.
Wait.
I definitely think, good theory. I think that when it comes to that, I remember right when season 4 dropped, people were going back to the first episode of the show and like freeze framing the Demogorgon. They were like, "Oh, it looks like Vecna's hand," and I've dissected that too. It might have just been the,
I think that's
the
just what
shady,
the early demographic,
yeah.
the early Demogorgon looked
But then
like.
there's people being like, the door handle opened, it could have been Vecna. How everything, just analyzing that scene. What do you think, Cam? Like, do you like Will and Vecna's relationship? I think they will 100% explore it. They are connected. You can, at the end of season 4, Will, he gets the goosebumps and he's like, "He's here, I can feel him." I forget the exact line, but they're going to come face to face in this final
There's
season.
definitely a connection from
Undoubtedly
between Henry Creel and Will. It could be like a familial connection. Like we could find out that there's some sort of like blood relation through the family ties there.
That would be madness.
He's a cousin or something. I don't know.
No, that would be insane. But yeah, we have how long? About 2 years until this actually comes out, or not really. It should come out next year, hopefully summer, maybe Stranger Things Day. But we'll be talking theories all until then, and rewatching the show, obviously. But that is going to do it for this panel. Thank you guys so much for coming out and talking theories. And we all love Stranger Things. We're actually going to snag a quick photo down here, and we'll be hanging out over here if you guys want to come hang out, take a picture, talk to us as long as you want. And yeah, thank you guys for coming out. Let's get this picture. Let's do it.